Welcome to Life, Death, and the Law, presented by the law firm of Deason, Garner, and Hansen, hosted by attorneys Sean Garner and Adam Hansen.
Dr. Brown is one of the smartest people that we know.
I've been going to, he's been my eye doctor it's been at least 22
4
years.
hours, yeah, 24 hours.
24 hours, 22 years. And so you're one of the people that I trust emphatically. If you give me an opinion, I know it's going to be well thought out, and you're going to recommend procedures on a very conservative basis. You don't like to rush out and try the newest procedure that's out there and use me as a guinea pig. So I had a procedure recently that we had talked about, and we had been talking about for, say, 5 years. I wanted to get LASIK, but I was approaching my 40s, and that's how it goes. It's like when you can't afford something and can enjoy it, then that's where you're at. You can't have the money to get it. And that's where I was with LASIK when I was in my 30s. And then when I finally got up where I could afford this procedure and not just wear eyeglasses, he said, well, your eyes are going to start to relax, or I don't know what the term is, where I was going to lose my nearsighted vision anyway, so it would be of limited effect for me. And so there was this different procedure called light adjusted lenses, LAL. And that was something that you had heard other people had success with, and so you said that might be something looking into, and you gave me a specific clinic to go to, and I had.
So let's start in your 30s. You're looking at getting rid of your glasses. And so LASIK is a very common option for many people. It's mainly for people who are nearsighted. So if they look at their prescription, it has a minus in front of their first number. It's for people who have low to moderate amounts of astigmatism, which means the second number on your prescription is less than 250. And it's for eyes that are not severely nearsighted. So people that are farsighted or a lot of astigmatism, they're ruled out. It's not safe for them, or doesn't last long for them.
Because it's literally trimming or putting cuts in the eye in a way that makes the eye shape change, correct? Is that what it does?
So RK were radial cuts. It's radial keratotomy. So you've got your cornea is a circle. They make incisions that flatten it, weaken it, and changes the shape. LASIK does a slice across the top, peels back the top, hits it with a laser that ablates or erases some of your cornea and puts it back and reshapes it.
Okay.
So that would be LASIK, reshapes it. The RK weakens it. The LASIK does not.
Oh, okay.
But if your cornea is too thin, it can, and then it can perforate. So we've learned over time the thinness that should be avoided.
Okay.
So
and LASIK wasn't a good option for me.
It would have got your distance great, and then you would have needed reading glasses within a year or two. So when your goal is to get rid of glasses altogether, which most people, that's their goal, you're defeating the purpose. You're fixing one and heading into the other.
Yeah. So this lens that I got, this light adjustable lens, or LAL, it's been used in Europe and in other countries, I don't know, for several years. By the time I had mine done, they had done millions of implants. And my understanding is it's the same thing as a cataract surgery, where they're removing your original lens and they're putting in an artificial lens. The difference is this artificial lens, well, one difference is you don't have cataracts to actually trigger the need for the surgery. Right. And the other is you're getting a lens that's put in that has a prescription. Yes. And this specific procedure with the light adjustable lens is once your eye heals back up, then you can get real specific on how that prescription lens needs to be, and they can adjust the prescription after the fact with a UV light.
How many adjustments did you need?
5. Did I need all 5? I don't know, but I used all 5 because I wanted to get the best outcome. And so what they would do is they would give me an eye test, and they would tell me how close I was to 20/20, both nearsighted and farsighted. And then they would say, okay, we're going to do an adjustment here. You're going to your eyes are going to be blurry because they have to dilate your eyes to do the adjustment. And it's going to take your brain a little bit of time to adjust because one eye is going to be farsighted and the other eye is going to be nearsighted. And it's going to take your brain a little bit of time to adjust. Don't close one eye when you want to see far or near. Just allow your brain to kind of figure it out. And so they wanted at least 2 weeks in between adjustments. So I wasn't adjusting on something that was still my brain working out the difference. And so I went in after 2 weeks every time and had those adjustments, and very happy with them. I thought, it was painless, the procedure itself. And I'm a big wimp. I don't get my blood drawn. I don't get any shots that I don't have to because I'm afraid of the needle. Disregard all the conspiracy theories out there. I just don't like the needle. And so even with me, it was a painless procedure.
So quick question, which eye of yours is focused most for the distance?
My right eye. So they use my dominant eye. I'm right eye dominant, and they use that for the distance.
Did you already know you were right eye dominant?
Yeah.
And so you have a somewhat reading prescription oriented left eye?
I do, which is weird because I think that my brain is still struggling with trying to use my right eye when I look down at papers. And I probably unintentionally closed my right eye more than I should have to force my brain to switch over automatically to the left eye when I look down.
So light adjusted allows them to fine tune it for you. Does each lens have a near and far correction in it, and they just adjust it to favor one of those? Or is it only near and only far in each eye?
It's only near and only far.
So some lenses that they can implant have a built-in distance and near in the same eye.
I've seen those, and they have like little ridges or like
when they're magnified. They can look like they have ridges.
Yeah. And the reason I didn't go with those, well, first of all, the doctors that I spoke with, it was Barnett Delaney was the clinic that I used. And the doctors that I spoke with says those were a prior version. They can work, but they do have a bit more of a halo effect at night.
Correct. And that would be more of a halo effect for eyes who dilate past 5-6 millimeters. Younger people, lighter eyes, as yourself, are going to dilate more and have those symptoms more. Some of our patients who are in their 70s and 80s, eyes don't dilate as much. And if they're darker eyes, they may be a better candidate for that just because their eyes aren't as susceptible to the night issues.
Okay.
Interestingly enough, though, sometimes the monovision, which is what we call distance and near in each eye, sometimes the monovision can give nighttime issues as well. You haven't had any?
If I am really tired and my eyes are droopy, then yes. But if I'm driving down the street and I open my eyes wide, and then no, I don't have that. Maybe if I really concentrated and I was being picky about it, I could point out some things, but not enough to really distract me or deter from, just everyday life.
So it sounds like you're very happy with the freedom you have with no glasses.
Oh, yeah. I still, to this day, feel like I'm missing something when I walk out the door. I'm like, I know I'm missing something. What am I missing? Like, I don't have my glasses. I don't need my glasses. Okay, we can go.
But you still notice some limitations at different parts of your vision.
Yeah. So my right eye, great. Like, I'm seeing your face crystal clear. I'm seeing the walls. I'm seeing the lights, everything. I see distances great. But when it gets to about 5 feet to me or closer, then that transition takes a bit. Now, if I'm sitting there reading for a while, it's not an issue. But if I'm looking up, looking down, looking up, looking down, then I still feel like my brain is slow on the uptake.
So what's really important here is you have found that most of it's better. Your experience is great, but you've made some concessions. And so one of the things, and that's fine. You haven't damaged your eyes. You have more freedom, and you're happy with your investment. The doctors that do the type of surgeries and help you pick the lens they think is best for you have learned how to select patients' profiles that will benefit and the type of lens. They were able to pick the lens that worked best for you. And in other settings, they would have picked a different lens for someone else. In fact, I've had a patient that I've sent, and after talking to the patient, examining their eyes, they discouraged them from getting the procedure.
Oh.
Because they felt that their expectations were greater than they could meet.
They wanted it all.
So interesting observation. That's one way to put it. The other way is different people are tuned to their vision in different ways. Before I got LASIK in 99, I had been practicing for a couple of years, and I started observing the people who succeeded with LASIK and who didn't. I started observing people who succeeded with their vision and didn't. And what I noticed is we all have a different tolerance to blur. And some people can be two or three steps off of correct, and they don't even notice it. Their life is fine. They're managing everything. They don't notice. There's other people who are a half step off, and they can tell it right away. And it's got to be dialed in. People who are that, and they don't do that consciously. That's just the way their eyes and their brain are wired. So when you have that attention to detail with your eyes, you can't ignore it how hard you try.
Okay.
So they've learned to say, well, we're not going to get you there.
Yeah.
The best example of that is someone who's lived with 0 glasses their entire life and are heading into reading glasses. If they give them lenses that are going to correct up close, it is going to hinder some of their distance in a small degree. But they've spent a lifetime of perfect distance vision. They'll notice it. They'll notice it every day. So learning how to pick those before I got LASIK, I realized I can deal with blur. I'm sitting here with you guys. I have a pretty good nearsighted prescription. You're a little blurry. I don't care. Maybe you're even better looking when you're blurry.
Yeah, probably.
I'm kidding. But yeah, so finding those that will benefit, and they selected the right ones for you.
Yeah. And what's nice about it is as the technology advances, not that I'm looking forward to getting the procedure done again, but that if I was totally unhappy with it, they could take those out.
Yeah.
But that would be going back to stage 1.
It's a very difficult surgery. Very.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize that. I thought it was like you could just take it out and swap it out for the newer version.
I'd stay where you are.
Okay.
I'd stay right where you are.
That brings to mind reverse vasectomy.
Vasectomy?
Yeah.
Hey.
I'm just saying, when he talks about how difficult the reversal of that is, I'm like, the first thing that comes to mind is a vasectomy.
Harder than that.
Harder than that?
Oh, really?
Absolutely.
Look at that, Sean.
Why?
So when they take out the lens that you have, they leave a thin shell, first of all, that holds the new lens. Second of all, that shell is held by tiny fine hairs called zonules. And so when you're putting in a lens, taking out a lens, you're breaking little zonules as you go, which holds the lens in place. When the lens unfolds, it has 2 haptics that spring out and hold it in place in that lens.
Yeah.
The capsule. So when they take that out, they have to remove that from the capsule without breaking zonules, without breaking the capsule.
Oh, and those are all like hair like.
I mean, it's amazing what
appendages.
these guys do, and it's the reason I don't cut into people's eyes. And these guys are magicians, some of them. So, and I have patients who've had to have them removed and replaced for various reasons, but it's rare.
Oh.
And I would never recommend it or select it optionally.
I see. So if you think, try it out. If it doesn't work, then go back to what you had before. No.
I wouldn't recommend it.
Okay. Well, fortunately, I am happy with what I've got. I do want to get some readers that are bifocals where there's no prescription on top and a small prescription on the bottom, on the very bottom.
Right.
And so I'm going to come in and I've got an appointment with your office. By the way, I want to do a shout out to your office here. It's Corona Optique.
It is.
And you've been working at Corona Optique how long? Tell me how you got into the business.
Yeah, I want to hear more about the business. I was coming into this, I looked at your website. You've got 9 doctors at Corona. 8?
Dr. Corona retired.
I wondered about that.
He's listed, and he's the namesake and the genius behind the whole thing. He's been retired a couple of years, and we've left him on the website, and we should probably discuss with him whether he wants to be left or not. But everybody knows Dr. Corona, and he set the wheels in motion for the opportunities that we all have. I grew up here, went to high school here, and when I left, I wanted to be a computer programmer.
Oh.
And they did not have that in college. So they put me in electrical and computer engineering, which was pretty much electrical engineering, which was pretty much not my style.
Really? You didn't enjoy that?
I did. I was great at math. I probably would have loved mechanical engineering. I mean, my physics classes, the calculus classes.
Coming up, more thought-provoking conversations on life, death, and the law right after this.
Want to hear more Life, Death, and the Law? You can find it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube, or any other platform you listen to your podcasts.
You're listening to Life, Death, and the Law, presented by Deason, Garner, and Hansen, the law firm that has been voted Yuma's best 6 years in a row.
Wow, you are
It was enjoyable.
odd.
Correct.
I always knew there was something off about you.
Yes, too calculating. So I didn't realize that there were classes to weed you out, and so the very first electrical engineering class weeded me out. I was like, this is not for me. So moved into business. My father was an accountant here in town, so I started accounting. My bachelor's, moved to that. Did not like accounting, and so I started looking further. Went to get contacts at in the mall at Tucson.
I was going to ask, so were you going to U of A at the time?
I was.
Yeah.
I'm going to the U of A, and the doctor who checked my eyes said, "What are you studying?" I said, "Accounting." He says, "I can do my own taxes, but I can't check my own eyes." And it caught my attention because I was looking. I was thinking MBA, law school, something.
So
Not
he was an
med school.
influencer.
Oh, big time.
Why did he take that role to be a mentor in that situation?
Very interesting, because the next thing he said was, I don't have to do this. I've already retired. I have my retirement. I help my friend out. I like the job. I come in and I get a little money for golfing, and I'm not as bored at home. And I thought, if you could go back to your profession after you're retired for fun, something to look at.
That might be the right job for you.
So went to the counselor, the health counselor at U of A, and I asked what they knew about optometry. She says, "I think there's a box on the bottom shelf." So I pulled that out. There were 13 colleges in America at the time, and sent out for some catalogs. I took my resume around to 32 doctors in Tucson offering to work for free so I could find out if it was for me. Yeah, no, I got 2 callbacks saying good luck.
Really?
Really. So I was like, these guys are idiots. So I was married, and I came home from school a week or so later. My wife says, "You got a call from a doctor." I said, "They can pound sand." And she says, "No, you should call him back." I didn't. So he calls back a few days later. I called him back, got a job, worked for free, 20 hours a week for 3 months. He started paying me after 3 months, and found out I really like the job. I love it. And when my brother wanted to become an optometrist, I got him a job with the same optometrist. He doesn't like optometry. He's a teacher. And so did my research and got some assistance through Arizona. They have a scholarship program when you don't have a college in state. They helped pay some of my tuition. Went to the same college that Dr. Corona did in LA, Southern California College of Optometry. And got out of school. We were looking at finding a practice. Had to work in Arizona, which was always the plan because of that scholarship. We're planning on working on the east side of the state, where my wife and my father are from, between Benson and Tombstone, a little town called St. David.
Okay.
So had interviews in Tucson, Wilcox, Sierra Vista, and Dr. Corona sent me a letter. He was my parents' optometrist, and it was an offer, and it was better than anything that I had had, and made my wife pretty depressed. She didn't want to move to Yuma, and
But you'd had experience in Yuma,
I grew up here.
and she grew up where?
She grew up there in St. David. It's
St.
elevated.
David, right? It's
David.
Benson.
Yeah, it's an elevation over 3,000 feet. It has seasons. Doesn't have the hot heat. Our first summer visiting home, we drive in and get in at 11:30 at night. We get out and it's over 100 degrees. And she
Yeah.
says, "We're never living here."
Yeah, I said the same thing.
Yeah, it's pretty intense.
I grew up in that area. I don't know if you knew that. I grew up in Wilcox.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. I do remember that.
Yeah. So my main church building, what we call a stake center, is in St. David. So
Yeah. They've torn that one down.
yeah.
They got a new one put up.
Yeah. So I'd have to drive over every once in a while. Just kind of.
Is that about 45 minutes?
Not even. It's about 25 minutes through the pass. Yeah. Texas Canyon is what we call it. But yeah, that's really cool. Interesting. Did you have any kids at the time when you were going through this whole process?
Yeah, so we had one child while we were at U of A. We had another child while we were in optometry school. So by the time we got out, we had two kids.
Trying to figure things out.
Yeah, so my wife gave me some demands that I had to give to Dr. Corona when I came. And so we go through everything. It's amazing practice. It's where I wanted to be. And so we get done with the interview, and I said, this is the best offer I have. This is the best place to work.
Has it always been that building on 24th Street?
So do you know in the same parking lot, Dr. Gallimore's building?
Yeah.
That's where it was.
Oh,
that's where
so
they started.
I mean, you moved like 20 feet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pretty much. Yeah. So
Was he the only doctor at the time in that practice?
So Dr. Corona started working in Yuma around 84, give or take, and he worked Eye Masters. He worked at Sears. He had a shop over next to Mervin's, which is now Cal Ranch.
Yeah.
So he had a shop there. I think I actually saw him while I was a freshman in college for an eye exam. And so Southwest Eye Center, Dr. Bluth was looking to bring surgeons to town, and he partnered with Dr. Corona, and that's when they began Corona Optique in 91.
Yeah, and so that was my next question is what is your connection with Southwest Eye Center? Because they do the surgeries.
They do.
You walk in the same front door and you either turn right to go to your office or left to go to Southwest Eye Center. So are you just sharing the same building or is it something more?
That's it.
Okay.
And that's all it's ever been.
It's very convenient, though.
It's extremely convenient, and especially coming out of school, it was part of a learning experience that I don't know how you get. So a residency, after you get out of school, you're then, even though you're a licensed doctor seeing patients on your own, you're very close to another doctor to guide you. So without doing a residency, to be in the same building with a couple other optometrists plus ophthalmologists, I had at my fingertips the ability to ask all the pros, and it was fantastic. So even now, we have that relationship with Southwest Eye Center. If we have concerns, if we have emergencies, we can walk over, talk to the doctors, and get emergencies seen instead of having to send you across town. And there's times
We're out of town.
We're out of town. And so, and sometimes even they can't meet those needs. So there's times where we're still sending you out of town, but it's great to have that resource.
When do you think they'll do the LAL?
Their doctors do multifocal implants.
Multifocal, but that's not the LA. Because the way I understand it is only in the Phoenix and potentially the Tucson areas do they have the UV light that adjusts the lens.
So I would expect that Southwest Eye Centers in Phoenix probably have that capability.
Oh, so they're a chain.
Yes. So Southwest Eye Center was started by Dr. Bluth, and they have offices throughout the state.
Okay.
Yeah.
Corona Optique is just your facility.
Just us,
Okay.
just in Yuma. And so started working with Dr. Corona in 97. There was another doctor, Dr. Lindley, that worked there. Interestingly enough, different doctors have worked with Dr. Corona before I got there. So it was Dr. Lindley and I when I started.
Very good.
What's been your favorite part as you look past over your career that those were the highlights of your workday, your day-to-day, or even maybe if it was a one-off type thing of your career? What's been your favorite aspect of your career?
The most rewarding is when you have an unexpected big success.
Okay.
And we had one of those just a week ago.
Really?
Yeah. So we had a gentleman come in his 40s, and he had a palsy. So it's a kind of a stroke on one of the nerves that comes to the eye. And it had resulted in a droopy lid, a larger pupil. But what the worst part is one of his eyes turned in, and he was seeing double.
Oh.
Really turned in. and it had never turned in his life. So he comes in kind of wearing a patch or closing an eye because he sees two of everything. And as we evaluated it and found out just how big that turn was, we had a press-on prism. Now, prisms redirect what you're seeing. We pressed it on his glasses, and he was able to put them on and see single.
So did it help his eyes straighten out?
So we don't believe that helps. So it doesn't. So it takes the image and redirects it to where your eye is sitting.
Oh, okay.
So his eye's still turned in, but it takes the image out there and puts it in front of where that eye is, and then this eye's looking at it.
I see.
Interesting.
So it allows the brain to merge the two images.
Because glasses can help your eyes straighten out, or at least putting a patch over one eye, maybe the stronger eye, to force the weak eye to become more active. I see in third world countries that there's a lot of people with a lazy eye because they maybe don't have access to the type of medical care. And here you don't see that very often. You don't see a lot of people with a lazy eye. And I think that's because early on they go to the ophthalmologist and they wear glasses with a patch on it and help strengthen that eye. That's the most I know about that.
So you're conflating a couple things.
Okay, all right.
But they're both called lazy eye, so that's why you would think of it.
Okay.
One is a lazy eye that turns.
Uh-huh.
So a lazy eye that turns can sometimes be corrected just with glasses. Sometimes it's that you don't have your full prescription in your glasses, and all we have to do is give you full prescription and your eyes line up.
Uh-huh.
Sometimes it's the muscle and it's turned, and we add the prism to your lenses, and it does. But when you talk about the patch, generally you're talking about, so when an eye does not line up or has a very different prescription in each eye, one eye doesn't develop 20/20. The brain shuts it down because it has two separate images that don't make sense.
Yeah.
And it shuts down that center vision. So
Until you become blind in that eye, essentially.
the center vision is much reduced. So you go from a 20/20 to a 20/40, 20/60. Now your peripheral vision's still fine. You're not considered blind. But if you ever had to rely on that eye, you wouldn't see 20/20. So they patch the good eye to try and get the brain to activate those centers.
That was the thing that was most fascinating to me when I learned about that. Like you put a patch. It could be the simplest. I mean, it seems like the simplest fix possible to get your brain to fix the problem. That is amazing to me.
And guess how many kids wear the patch who should?
I don't know.
0.
Less than 10% in my experience.
Really? Because their parents or what?
Oh, I think it's
Stigma. Embarrassing, right?
kids tease them. Think about wearing a patch in school. Some of the success stories have been, we had a patient who needed them, and grandma made a bunch of different cool patches the kid loved with sewing and different things. And so they liked wearing the patch.
Well, the Gen Zers, I think that'd be different because anything
Possibly.
that sets you aside now is awesome, right? They'd have one of the patches with like a bloody eyeball hanging out of it, and they'd wear that all the time.
And maybe we need, as a profession, to get a little more creative on how we pitch it. It's also
They have
difficult.
that Harry Potter character. What is that guy that's got that one weird eye?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know.
Professor guy.
Yeah.
So we definitely more creative approaches to encourage kids to do that. And you're right, it's probably more acceptable nowadays and easier to do. But I still see 50-year-olds, 40-year-olds who can't see out of their lazy eye.
Interesting.
Going back to that prism, so that was an instant fix, it sounds like. Once you got it lined up where it needed to be, that must have been so satisfying for that guy.
And his eye recovered within a week. Just saw him a couple days ago, and he doesn't need it. He was able to peel it off his lenses and wear regular glasses. So the body tries to recover from these types of palsies and frequently does.
What causes a palsy?
There's a whole lot of
Stress?
Sure. Absolutely. The
Okay.
most
Are you worried
common
about it? You
Yeah.
look worried. I could see it on your
Well,
face.
I think I have a palsy now that you're talking about
I'm
it.
experiencing one right now.
so the seventh nerve.
Every time my wife talks to me, it's like, oh, here comes a palsy.
My eye starts twitching.
So a twitch is not a palsy, but is a sign of stress for sure.
Yeah, mine's twitching all the time.
Mine twitches after the stress.
Oh, really? Okay.
And I had and they say when we're talking a call back to the shingles discussion, that is oftentimes triggered by stress. And I actually experienced shingles when I was 28, which is ridiculously young to have that, but it was after optometry school. I had finally graduated, licensed, job, and 6 weeks after full relaxation, got hit with shingles for a few weeks.
Wow.
So it can hit any part of your body. And so for me, it was on my back and my side, but some people get it on the face, and that's when it risks the eyes.
Okay.
You mentioned your interest in early on in computing and coding and things like that.
Sure.
What role, if any, does AI play right now and the advancements in technology that way? Have you seen that in your profession at all? Ours, I mean, as attorneys, we use it, on a day-to-day basis. I don't see it as replacing what we do. There's still an element of humanity that needs to be there for some of the things, but the way that we look at it is, instead of starting way back here, we get to start, 50%, 60% into it. I still have to do that 40%. Do you see that happening right now in your profession?
Sure.
How does that look?
Coming up, more thought-provoking conversations on life, death, and the law right after this.
Yuma, Dave Ramsey here. If you listen to our show or know anything about us, then you know I only recommend products and services I trust and I believe in. That's why when it comes to protecting your assets and planning for your loved one's future, you've got to call my friends Sean Garner and Adam Hansen at the law firm of Deason, Garner, and Hansen. I encourage you to take the first step and attend a free, no-pressure seminar and learn all of your options. The firm of Deason, Garner, and Hansen has been educating the Yuma community for over 40 years, and this is the only area of law that they practice. Sean and Adam believe in giving free education to help people make smart decisions about their assets and help them leave a legacy for their family that they can be proud of. Schedule a free personal consultation today. Call 783-4575 or visit yumaestateplanning.com.
You're listening to Life, Death, and the Law, presented by Deason, Garner, and Hansen, the law firm that has been voted Yuma's best 6 years in a row.
So I'm going to speak to AI currently, but let's make sure we talk about Neuralink.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So,
I haven't heard of that.
Cool. You can type it in while I talk about just AI in general. Neura, I think, Neuralink, I think.
And then you're talking about Elon Musk's venture into brain implants, which the first patient actually lives here in Yuma.
That's right.
No way.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
First one worldwide. So back to AI just for optometry. We now have pictures and scans that are in many offices, probably I would guess the majority of optometry offices, that exceed the technology of what I graduated with in the highest advanced clinics. Not only do we have those, but now they're starting to develop AI to read those for you. So there are clinics that are popping up with only a doctor available on the internet, where you go in and a tech runs all of the different things. And then the doc looks at it. It's been highlighted by AI to show what to be concerned about. And you still have a doctor punching off. But as far as the health side of it, it's really made inroads.
Are you worried about that?
No. And the reason I'm not is the human element of optometry is the finding of your glasses prescriptions. We have had the ability, anytime you go to an optometrist's office, they run a scan that checks your prescription. And we could probably prescribe off of that alone, and 75% of the people would be okay. But it's the discussion, your expectations, the ones and twos that we go through. People often wonder if we know the answers. We don't. But we know when you're being inconsistent, which can be caused by a number of factors. We know from certain types of blur.
So when you're saying the ones and twos, it's like, does this look better? Lens one, lens two. That's the ones and twos.
That's the one.
Yeah, I get so nervous when you do that exam.
And we do everything we can to set you at ease, and we're asking you to make determinations on the most difficult of differences. We're pushing you to but when you can, that gets your prescription fine-tuned further. So that part of it, I don't see AI being close. Probably someday. In fact, they may even get that AI good enough to set you at ease better than the doctor does. So it's not going to be.
Well, the reason I'm nervous is because I feel like I'm going to make the wrong choice and then walk out with some wonky prescriptions.
So the easy thing to set that at ease, two things. As we go through the process, there's checks and balances that we do. And if there's inconsistencies, we usually discuss them and show them to you again.
Mm-hmm.
The second thing is, so what if it goes wrong? You come back and we recheck, remake them for free. And it's just part of the deal. It doesn't happen a lot, but it happens. Sometimes your metabolism can be out of whack. If you're starting on the edge of diabetes, or if you have high blood pressure, it can actually cause fluctuations in your vision, especially dry eye, can cause fluctuations in your vision even during the exam. You may have to come back. It's not a big deal.
Okay.
It's a nuisance for your schedule.
So what I've noticed, and what I've actually used your office as a protocol basically for ours, or maybe a prototype is a better word for it, is there is a system in place. You check in, and then you go and meet with somebody initially, and they do a little puff of air in your eye, and they test, I guess, the pressure in your eye, and they're doing all of these preliminary tests. They're going over your information. They're checking your prior prescription, and then finally I sit in this darker room, and you come in, and you put the mechanism in front of my eyes, and we read the chart, and it's very, very systematic each time, and I feel like the consistency is helping us check all the boxes. Whereas if I just sat down and talked with somebody and kind of discussed what my problems are and what my expectations are, I might not express everything that's going on with me, and they might not understand the full issues. And so your practice, the way that goes that way, even though I would only see you for probably 10 minutes each visit, I felt like it was so comprehensive. And so we've actually tried to mimic what we do, and we get a lot of flack for that around town.
Really?
Yeah. Other firms call us like trust mills. Oh. And I think about it and I say, well, okay, but if we're a trust mill and we do something consistent every time, so we make sure we don't miss the little things and we ask all the right questions every time, and it results in a better product or better service, then maybe we are a trust mill, and that's a good thing. I think about even the best mechanics couldn't go into a garage and build the simplest car. It takes a factory, right? It takes a process to get there, and your I don't know if you call it your practice. Yeah. Is a really good example of that. Just from the time you sit down and check in to the time that you walk out and talk to the lady at the counter for the next appointment, it's so structured that takes off a lot of the stress. How did you get to that point? Was that Dr. Corona's brainchild, or was that you? It seems like you're a very
regimented.
Regimented? Yes. You think of things 10 steps ahead, and you want to have things planned out. So it kind of seems like your personality.
And it fits my personality. That's why I enjoy the profession. But honestly, what we do is very similar across the board in most practices, I would guess. Hard for me to say that. This is the only practice I've ever been in. But it was a lot of these processes were already in place. As we've expanded with a few more doctors, we've had to become efficient so that we didn't overwork our staff or bunch up and have great delays between patients. We can't always avoid delays, but I guess my biggest push has been our patients' time. And so if patients are waiting routinely 20, 30 minutes or more, then I feel like we need to change something. So there are things that I've helped with, but in general, so I've been there. I'm going on my 28th year at Corona Optique.
Okay.
And there are 5 employees that have been there longer than me.
Really?
And so the system that's been there and the team that's in place, and we have another 5 probably that are over 20 years. So that type of teamwork and feedback from each part of the team is what's contributed to streamlining and making things a little more efficient. It's hard to control everything.
Yeah, it is. But I'll tell you that when we're looking at implementing a different step, or even the furniture that we're choosing for a waiting room, my wife, Adam, his wife, they contribute to, okay, how's this going to look? Because we need an outsider's point of view. We live in it. We got this tunnel vision. Every single time she brings up, well, Corona Optique does it this way.
That's a great compliment. And if my staff, I'm sure all my staff's going to be listening to this podcast.
I'm sure they better.
and I'll make sure you put that in a little clip for
Yeah.
them. I'd appreciate that. Yeah, no, unfortunately I have nothing to do with the decor. Otherwise it would have the same worse tunnel vision than you can imagine.
Yeah.
So they don't even let me pick my own glasses. I've tried that a few times and they smile kindly and then say, how about these?
Oh, okay.
So, yeah.
The big ones, the big 80s.
You know, it's been
Your
so
oldest
long.
son used to rock those. He might still do it.
My kids do. Yeah, my kids have some different
Those
flavors.
are back in style, I guess, now. But
I do. If you ever want to see the glasses from the 80s, I have a few of them in my office that I wore at Woodard and Akofa.
nice.
Well, I did look up Neuralink.
Yeah.
And
I was
so
curious what you were going to say about that.
here's what AI says about it. It says Neuralink is a neurotechnology company that develops brain-computer interfaces, or BCIs, to help people with paralysis and other medical needs, including blindness.
Yeah. So they have developed, so the technology they've used is they have scanned the brain long enough to be able to read your thoughts.
Yikes.
And so by hooking this up, you think move cursor to the right and you operate the computer. So they have been able to map what you're thinking and it's able to direct things that you can't physically. So it's amazing for people that have quadriplegic.
And
Yeah.
that's the case study. The very first patient from Yuma that has it, he's a quadriplegic from about the shoulders down, and an avid gamer, very good at it.
Yep.
It's crazy
Really?
to watch him. Yeah, he just sits there, looks at the computer, and it's playing games and doing all sorts of stuff. He
From
can do
his
whatever he wants.
thoughts.
Well, how does it help with vision loss?
Not yet.
Oh,
But think of the reverse.
okay.
If they know what you're thinking, how long is it going to be before they can influence what you're thinking?
Yeah.
So they hook up a camera and they learn to feed that to the part of your brain that interprets vision.
Okay.
So people have talked about eye transplants. I don't think your eyes are going to be transplanted. I think they're going to learn how to feed the information in that they're already reading on the way out.
Interesting.
So,
And this is an Elon Musk company. How much time does this guy have? It's just, does he sleep?
I don't know, but back on the thought of eye transplants and this type of technology, they do have an implant that they have put in the retina, in the very back part of the eye, that is interpreting and sending it to the brain. It sees, from what I understand, and I didn't look this up before I left, it sees shapes. I don't know if it sees colors, but it helps people that are completely blind be able to navigate.
Wow.
I believe. So the fact that you've got this thing working fully on the outside, it's going to be interesting. I think that's going to be the fastest way for complete blindness to recover.
That's amazing. So now I'm going to go to the opposite. What is something that is kind of a dread that you either experienced in your career? It could be a one-time deal or a daily grind type issue that you wish you could avoid.
I guess the one-time issue or such is just there's been a time or two where my schedule was too much, where I had booked too many patients. It was too hard to keep up, wasn't giving it the time it needed. It's been decades since that's occurred. And it was a learning process early on. And so that would have been the only thing that, I mean, it's always a sad moment to be talking with someone who's starting to lose their vision and I can't help. Mm-hmm. But in the same vein, you're helping them make it through that time as well. So really, and so you talk about being regimented. When I don't have a well-regimented schedule, then it's not fun. Otherwise,
That's what stresses you out more than anything.
for sure. To know that there's 3 patients waiting and I'm 45 minutes behind, that's almost untenable.
You mentioned your personality before, like it aligns with what you're doing on a daily basis. So would you consider yourself, I don't even know if this is the right term, but OCD?
Yeah.
You know, you like things
So I know OCD people, and I definitely don't fit the.
I don't even know what the diagnosis, the medical diagnosis, I don't know what that is.
Yeah, we all kind of seem like we diagnose each other. You're OCD because you're more clean.
You throw that around. Well, either being clean or it's regimented kind of.
And I think really one of the, and obviously this isn't my field of expertise, but I think that one of the indications of OCD is when your regiment rules you and it gets in the way of you doing daily activities.
It's an impediment.
And so I know people. I mean, you've seen it in the movies. What's the one with Helen Hunt and Nick? As Good as It Gets.
Yes.
As Good as It Gets.
Jack Nicholson.
Nicholson. And so that's when your life, when you can't get out the door because you're going through your routines, when you can't have a relationship because your routines are more, that's OCD. Okay. And can I be meticulous at times? Sure. Mm-hmm. And I think the older I get, the less that's a thing. But I like order.
So what do you, typically a common topic that we like to bring up is for the Gen Zers out there.
Okay.
Because I've personally seen a difficulty with them adapting to a career path that takes a lot of concentration and a lot of sacrifice because the instant gratification that's been presented to them through our society over time, especially social media. And so what advice would you have for somebody that wants to get into their dream career or even a career that's just highly satisfying like you seem to have attained here?
So I'll speak just to optometry. And that is the great thing about our profession is many times you can set your own schedule depending on your employer, but 2 days a week, 3 days a week, 4 days a week, you can find work. Sometimes the daily scheduling of patients is hard to negotiate with an employer, but oftentimes you can set your own schedules and have more flexibility in a profession where when I started, it was what it was. I mean, I've only taken a day and a half off for a called off of work in 27 years.
Well, Dr. Brown, thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
Did we burn all of our bridges, or if we ask you again, would you ever come on again?
We'll see how it.
We'll see how it plays out in the public.
We'll see how it edits out. We'll see what you do. Thank you. I appreciate
we'll
being
see
here.
if we can have you back on at some time. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
If you have questions or want to know more about something that was discussed today, please call the law firm of Deason, Garner & Hansen at 928-783-4575 or visit yumaestateplanning.com.